On June 8, 2000, a wealthy 25-year-old woman refused to marry a 60-year-old man chosen by her parents. She fled from Canada to India and secretly married the poor man she had fallen in love with from afar. Her defiance enraged her mother and uncle, who believed she had brought shame upon the family. In response, they hired a local gang in India to exact their twisted version of justice. One evening, while the young couple was riding a scooter on a date, they were ambushed by 3 men. The young man was brutally attacked and left unconscious. The woman was dragged into a car and taken to an isolated farmhouse. The kidnappers, hoping for more money, called the family demanding additional payment. But in a family meeting, no one was willing to spend another rupee on the daughter who had dishonored them. When the kidnappers called demanding more money, the mother coldly told them, "You're holding a woman, aren't you? That's already captivity. Do whatever you want, it's up to you." The next day, her mutilated body was found dumped in a remote irrigation canal. Her throat had been slashed, her body covered in bruises and stab wounds. Forensic reports showed she had been tortured for hours before her death. The victim was Jaswinder Kaur, known affectionately as Jassi. She was born and raised in Canada into a Sikh family originally from Punjab, India. Her ancestors had migrated to British Columbia's west coast in the early 20th century and settled in a tight-knit Sikh community near Vancouver. Jassi grew up in this environment where tradition and honor were considered more important than individual freedom or happiness. Jassi's uncle, a wealthy blueberry farmer, took control of the family's affairs after Jassi's father was diagnosed with schizophrenia. He became the de facto patriarch, relocating the extended family to Maple Ridge and overseeing everything from finances to daily life. In Sikh tradition, families often live in close-knit multi-generational homes. Daughters are seen as the family's shared property, meant to be protected, raised in purity, and married off to men of higher status. Women typically move out only after marriage to live with their husbands' families. During Jassi's upbringing, concepts like honor, shame, and punishment were central to everyday life. The men around her seemed to be constantly defending family pride. Ironically, that pride was rooted in controlling the women, making sure they remained obedient, modest, and never brought shame to the family name. This toxic environment would ultimately seal Jassi's fate. In this community, girls were allowed to attend school, but only superficially. The family never believed that daughters should pursue success through education, no matter how smart or capable they were. Their ultimate fate was to be confined to a small kitchen, cooking and doing housework for their husbands and children, repeating the life their mothers had lived. As a result, girls had little motivation to excel, and their families had no expectations for them to do so. As girls got older, the family's restrictions tightened. Take education, for example. Jassi was tall and wanted to play basketball, but playing basketball meant interacting with boys and wearing shorts. Her parents couldn't accept that. Today it might be basketball, tomorrow dating, drinking, and drugs. Even though the family lived in Canada, a Western country known for freedom and individualism, Jassi was strictly forbidden from becoming westernized. That very night, her mother pulled her aside and lectured her for hours. Her mother warned her about how white girls at school had become immoral. Jassi was not allowed to go out alone. If she wanted to buy something, a male family member would handle it. If she absolutely had to leave the house, she had to be accompanied by a man. After graduating from high school, Jassi got a job at a local beauty salon. Every day, her brother drove her to and from work. At the same time, her parents began looking for a husband for her. Arranged marriage was a family tradition. Whether the man was young or old, kind or harsh, it was entirely up to the parents. There was no question, Jassi's husband had to be from the same religion and at least equal in social and economic status to her family. A strong alliance would strengthen both families' wealth and lineage. But such men weren't easy to find in Canada, so her parents turned their eyes back to Punjab, India. In late 1994, at age 19, Jassi traveled to India for the first time. It was there that she met the love of her life, Sukhwinder Singh Sidhu, an 18-year-old rickshaw driver living in poverty. Sukhwinder's home consisted of 2 small brick rooms, unplastered, with bare earth floors covered in dust. To the right of the house was farmland, to the left a cow shed. His elderly uncle lived in that shed, eating and sleeping alongside the animals. By societal standards in India, a man like Sukhwinder, so poor and low in status, would likely remain single for life. But fate had other plans. Sukhwinder was an exceptional athlete in kabaddi, a high-intensity contact sport requiring agility and endurance. It's a bit like an extreme version of tag and wildly popular in rural India. Strong and energetic, Sukhwinder stood out on his team and immediately caught Jassi's eye. One evening, before Jassi headed home, she pulled out a lipstick from her purse, drew a heart pierced by an arrow on a napkin, and asked a friend to deliver it to Sukhwinder. In the days that followed, the two often accidentally ran into each other on the street. Each time, Jassi handed him a napkin with, "I love you," written in lipstick. Before Sukhwinder could even process his feelings, Jassi suddenly showed up at his house, pretending she wanted to find a Canadian girlfriend for him. From 1995 to 1999, while Jassi was back in Canada, the young couple's love grew through long-distance phone calls, secret love letters, and the help of intermediaries. But their relationship faced major obstacles. Jassi came from a well-off, well-educated background, while Sukhwinder was illiterate. He even had to learn how to write just to send her letters. Her family would never accept him, and both lovers knew it. In 1999, following her uncle's orders, Jassi's parents decided to marry her off to a wealthy 60-year-old man. Jassi refused, but in a family that revered tradition, her voice didn't matter. She thought of Sukhwinder and told her mother she wanted to take a trip to India. Her real goal was to see him again. In March 1999, Jassi and Sukhwinder secretly married at a Gurdwara, a Sikh temple in India where devotees gather for worship. But they both knew her family would never forgive them. In a culture where tradition is paramount, Jassi's marriage to a poor rickshaw driver was seen as a deep humiliation. And her family, even more than most, placed honor above everything else. Jassi was born into a role of upholding other people's honor. Even after returning to Canada, she didn't dare let her family discover her marriage to Sukhwinder. The couple continued to call and write letters in secret. On October 4, 1999, the secret marriage was exposed. It all began when Sukhwinder's mother went to the Gurdwara where they were married to pray. The temple manager's wife approached to congratulate her, saying how lucky her son was to marry such a beautiful bride. Sukhwinder's mother only knew they were dating. She had no idea they'd actually gotten married. She rushed home and confronted her son. Instinctively, Sukhwinder lied and told her it was all a rumor. Sukhwinder went to a bar to drink, and while intoxicated, he let slip things he shouldn't have said. Coincidentally, a relative of Jassi's mother happened to be there and overheard the shocking secret. In January 2000, Jassi's family received a phone call from India. As a result, Jassi was immediately placed under house arrest. The entire family agreed this shameful marriage had to be erased from the family's history. Because Sikhism rejects caste and social stratification and promotes equality among all people, Jassi's family couldn't use caste as an excuse to oppose the marriage. Instead, they forged documents claiming that Jassi and Sukhwinder were related through the same village, thus violating Sikh teachings, and declared the marriage invalid. Jassi's uncle, who was usually cold and indifferent, suddenly acted gentle and caring. He told her he wanted to help bring Sukhwinder to Canada. All she had to do was sign some notarized documents written in Punjabi. Jassi, unfamiliar with the Punjabi language, couldn't read a word. But by then she had no choice. She obeyed and signed, hoping her uncle might still show some mercy for the love she held. Her uncle flew to India with the papers and, along with a relative, showed up at Sukhwinder's house. They threatened him, saying if he didn't agree to a divorce, they would beat his family to death. Sukhwinder's mother looked straight at him and said, "If you really love her, don't listen to them." When several villagers noticed the commotion and called the police, Jassi's uncle quickly left. But this didn't mean the Punjab police could be trusted or would protect the vulnerable. It's no exaggeration to say that the Punjab police are among the most corrupt in the world, with a shocking track record of bribery and abuse. For the wealthy, the police can solve any problem. In February 2000, Jassi's uncle submitted the Punjabi documents she had signed. He filed a complaint accusing Sukhwinder and his friends of kidnapping and assaulting Jassi, forcing her to sign a marriage certificate. He also claimed that Sukhwinder and Jassi were related, making the marriage illegal under Indian law. On February 23, 2000, Sukhwinder's mother and younger brother were arrested, treated inhumanely, and beaten while in custody. Two of Sukhwinder's friends were also arrested and tortured. Sukhwinder went into hiding for 2 weeks, trying to figure out how to rescue his family and friends. He eventually reached out to Jassi, and she finally realized the extent of the trap her uncle had laid. On March 8, 2000, Jassi managed to sneak out of her house and wrote a letter to Indian authorities at a local notary office. In the letter, she stated she had been threatened by her family and forced to sign documents against Sukhwinder. Jassi declared she had willingly married him and hoped the Indian police would release his family. However, her uncle's connections proved stronger. In April 2000, her friends helped buy her a plane ticket. Jassi was set to land at Indira Gandhi International Airport in New Delhi, India, on April 10. To prevent Jassi from being taken by her manipulative relatives, Sukhwinder arrived at the airport 4 days early. He bathed in airport restrooms, slept on luggage carts at night, and never left the terminal. Jassi arrived several hours later than expected. Sukhwinder managed to get her out of the airport before her family could reach her. That night, all their fears seemed to melt away. The next day, Jassi went to court, testified, and withdrew all accusations against Sukhwinder. His family was released and found innocent. At last, they were reunited. Jassi had a plan. Sukhwinder could use their marriage certificate to immigrate to Canada. Once there, he could gradually meet her parents again. Jassi stayed at Sukhwinder's home for about 3 months. His family organized a traditional Indian wedding for them, making up for the disappointment of their secret ceremony. From time to time, Jassi called her family back in Canada. Sometimes her mother yelled at both of them, other times she sounded defeated. But the threat never truly went away. Jassi's relatives in India had never let the couple off the hook. Close friends of Sukhwinder were practically shadowing him 24/7, armed with guns for protection. Still, Sukhwinder, being a grown man and now a husband, was uncomfortable constantly being guarded. On June 8, 2000, Sukhwinder and Jassi discussed going to the nearby town's market to pick up a few things. They rode a scooter through neighboring villages and didn't return until after dark. On the way back, they passed through a quiet path by a wheat field. A white car was parked by an irrigation canal, the same area where the couple often took evening walks. Sukhwinder couldn't see who was inside but pressed forward anyway. Out of nowhere, 3 men suddenly jumped out of the vehicle, swinging sharpened hockey sticks and advancing toward them. Sukhwinder, being quick and athletic, instinctively dodged, but one of the attackers struck Jassi directly in the head. The 3 men rushed in, grabbed Jassi, and dragged her into the car. Sukhwinder desperately tried to save her, but the 3 attackers were vicious. One of them slashed his hand, nearly severing it, while another struck him hard on the head. As Sukhwinder collapsed to the ground, the assailants checked for a pulse. However, they placed their fingers incorrectly and mistakenly believed he was dead. Satisfied, they got back in the car and drove away. Jassi was taken to a house over 40 miles away where she was brutally raped, tortured, and murdered. According to testimony from one of the assailants, they tied her to a chair and called her family to negotiate a bonus payment. When her mother answered, Jassi cried and begged her mother to save her, but her mother showed no mercy. She said, "You have a woman in your possession. She's your reward. Do whatever you want." After a long night of torture, they dumped her mutilated body in an irrigation canal. The next morning, a passerby discovered Jassi's body so badly beaten it was nearly unrecognizable.